U.S. Representative Congressional District 2 race. Congressional representatives are elected to a 2-year term to serve the people of a specific congressional district. Among other duties, representatives introduce bills and resolutions, offer amendments, and serve on committees. Members spend a good deal of their time meeting with the people in their state to discuss issues of concern. They also oversee administration of public policy. They have an annual salary of $174,000 a year. I would now like to introduce the candidates who are here tonight, and I'm going to do this just like the order they're going in, which is going to be as they appear on the ballot. So first up tonight is going to be Cody Hart, followed by Dan Matthews, Bill Wheeler, John Welch, Jason Call, Kerry Kennedy, and Rick Larson. Doug Yoshi Ravelli's name will appear on the ballot, but he has withdrawn his candidacy. And Brandon Lee Stallnecker and Leif Johnson are not attending this evening. So here are the rules for tonight. Each candidate is going to be is going to make a 2.5-minute opening statement, which answers the questions: why are you running for office? And if elected, what top priorities do you hope to accomplish in your term? And there won't be any other questions asked. Following that opening statement, each candidate will also then have 1.5 minutes to make a closing statement. So we're asked, as we said, we're gonna go by way of the ballot order. Usually we'd have this very cool timer that would show up on our screen. We're having some technical difficulties. So what you're going to have to listen for, candidates, is our timer. When you reach your 15 seconds left moment, is just going to call out 15, and then when your time is up, she's going to say time. And please know that if you do go over, we may end up having to shut off your mic, but hopefully we won't be doing that. So if our timer is ready, then we'll go ahead and get started. So Candidate Hart, please give us your opening statement.
You're muted, Candidate Hart.
Oh yeah, you are muted. Still muted.
No.
I will say sometimes I hit my on my headset, I turn it off accidentally. Maybe that's nope.
Can you hear me now?
Oh my gosh, we can. That's terrific.
Okay, I don't know what changed. All right. Yeah, my name is Cody Hart, and I'm ready for U.S. Congress because I can no longer sit and watch what is happening to my country. Those currently in charge have proven they need replaced, and they are failing America and the 2nd Congressional District. The lifetime establishment politicians would like to get in there and stay in there, and I'm here to provide a candidate who is a political outsider and more qualified than every other candidate looking to do this job. I want to emphasize I'm a candidate because I'm no longer going to be quiet about the excessive spending in Washington, D.C. that has resulted in the worst inflation in our nation's history. It's just unacceptable. I'm a candidate because what is happening isn't just affecting someone else, but it's affecting my family, friends, and neighbors throughout the 2nd Congressional District. I'm running to stop the attack on our nation's energy sector that has resulted in the highest gas prices in a generation, and they're still rising. I'm running to stop the supply chain problems that are being inflicted by the incompetence of the current administration. I'm a candidate because the attack on small businesses throughout the country are due to regulations and taxes that have to stop, or we will never make our economy great again. I'm a candidate because I want to offer my unique experience as a government watchdog, identifying hundreds of millions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington State to those who want real accountability in Washington, D.C. I'm a candidate who is a father with 3 daughters in the public school system, and I believe in fighting for parents' rights in our school system, defending the girl's right, my daughter's rights, not to have to compete with biological males in school sports. And I believe in fighting to stop activist teachers from pushing their beliefs on our public school system. The sexualization of our children needs to stop, and I'm running for Congress to restore our nation's laws against pedophilia. As a veteran who have proudly served overseas and volunteered with the VA to help veterans after I got out, I've seen too many veterans who have sacrificed and suffered. I will not stay silent when our nation is on the verge of another war. I will be absolutely clear with you. I oppose America entering into unprovoked wars.
15
Why
seconds.
should our brave American soldiers die in battles across the other side of the world when those living there aren't willing to die themselves? I believe I'm a candidate because I'm an American who believes in security on our borders and stopping the drug trafficking.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have candidate Matthews.
Can you hear me now?
We sure can. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Dan Matthews, born in Seattle to humble beginnings, as was my wife. We have 4 children and 12 grandchildren. With a degree in political science and a master's in public administration, I interned for a senator and considered law school. I became an airline pilot, rising to become a 747 captain and instructor, and was a training consultant to Boeing. I'm a veteran, a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel with 22 years of service, including 2 wars, having flown in Vietnam and Desert Storm. I've served in elective office at the school board level and on the Snohomish County Charter Review Commission. I've served my community through Rotary International and various organizations, including my local church, the Nature Conservancy, and as a founding member of the Cousteau Society. I'm a committed Christian and conservative who believes in smaller, efficient government and involves citizens exercising their freedoms responsibly. I believe that the secret of living is in giving, in service above self, and loving others to the best of Christ's admonitions. But led by Democrats, too much of what is happening today is wrong. If our country continues in the current direction, our economy will become even weaker. More of us will lose our jobs, our homes, our healthcare, and our pensions. Even public safety is at risk now, while nationally and internationally instability threatens us all. Mr. Larson and Mr. Call and their party, the Democrats, have made a hard turn to the left. They have left the people for socialist and extremist madness. Pelosi puppets responsible for this crisis, getting rich at our expense, enjoying insider trading, out of touch with the people. President Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." This is irrelevant to Jason Call and Rick Larson, loyal Democrats who seek political advantage in the allure of free stuff. Mr. Larson is a good representative of big money and the power brokers of the Beltway, but the citizens of this district want a representative who will remain in touch and remember us. Leadership and representation that will bring us together and not divide, not call us racist or domestic terrorists should we disagree, but help us become one and restore unity. That is why I am running. I seek climate change in our political discourse and direction, and will bring this message of statesmanship and honor
15.
to Congress. It is time to embrace the goodness of America with all its diversity and strength. We must carefully change course. I will bring real representation to our district with this premise: we must not return power to those those who get us into this mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wheeler, you're up next.
My name is Bill Wheeler. I'm running for Washington State Congress District 2. I have lived in Washington State for 39 years and have a wonderful fiance and 2 grown children. I work as a facility maintenance technician focusing on green project initiatives. I have an associate's and bachelor's in criminal justice, graduated with honors from American Military University, and I attend Capella for a doctorate in program management. Running for office provides me with an opportunity to give back to society, which is a responsibility I take seriously. Volunteerism is essential for a community. It connects us and gives us a sense of pride and identity. I am running because I feel it is my civic responsibility and a characteristic many of our representatives have lost. When faced with tragedy on multiple occasions, I, like many Washingtonians, have tried to reach out to our leaders only to have my pleas fall on deaf ears. Our leadership has a long history of ignoring its constituents and making decisions favoring a niche group of well-orchestrated specialty interest groups that have crippling effects on the working class and fixed income residents of this state. These policies transcend state issues, as policies forged by those in Congress have national consequences. As a member of Congress, I will represent this district's people, holding hearings and developing and voting on legislation with the best interest at hand for its constituents. I am running to give a voice to all of us that deserves to be heard because our hard work matters and we deserve better. If elected, a top priority is unfortunately extensive, as the chaos upon us is due to years of false promises, corruption, overtaxation, overspending, and rampant fraud. My objective is to keep taxes and government regulations at a minimum and be proactive about our relationship with small businesses, as their success is our success. Create and implement long-lasting environmental strategies that work. I will also champion and support measures to protect the right to have full autonomy of our bodies. I'm not afraid to call out big tech for its violations of impeding free speech and censorship. When large tech companies act in the capacity of town halls, where ideas and influences regarding our democracy are censored, we have succumbed to the same dictatorial powers and propaganda our history books have warned us about. Energy independence and strong borders are imperative for a strong foundation for any government. I support any common sense
15
bedrock
seconds.
principle that supports life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as a prime example given under our Declaration of Independence.
Thank you. All right, next up we have candidate Welch.
Good evening. This evening, you're going to hear me talk about erosion and opportunity. To live in Northwest Washington is to actually make a conscious choice. To possess a free heart, an adventurous soul, and a mind on fire. Coming out of COVID, we have much to consider. Our lives, our futures, and our sacred honor have forever been changed. The voting lines of our district are fresh, and our choice in leadership should be as well. The world comes to us every day with crisis and situation, whether it's by friends, by TV, or by road signs on the freeway. And it says, this is important, and this is important. But it's our job to prioritize our heart and our soul and say, this is important. As someone who will invest and promote small business, as someone who will stand behind first responders, as someone that has 10 years of negotiating ferry contracts, and somebody that knows how to sidestep bureaucracy, I believe I am the choice for District 2. For most of my life, our nation has surrendered to the erosion on just about every level. All the numbers are going backwards. They're going the wrong way. Whether it's housing that's become a luxury after 2008, 12 cities across the United States that have record suicide rates, the loss of manufacturing that has only decreased. For decades, career politicians have subcontracted policymaking to bureaucrats and lobbyists. They take taxpayer money and they spin us into a recession. As of June 30th, we are at a 1.0 GDP. In 1961, John Kennedy declared that America would go to the moon, and 8 years later, we did. Our nation and our government hasn't led or pushed that hard since.
15 seconds.
Thank you. Today, we no longer prioritize liberty, life, or the pursuit of anything, and any current policy coming from DC is inept, ignorant, or intentional. The midterm election in this new congressional district presents immense opportunity. Thank you.
That's time.
Thank you. Candidate Call, you're our next speaker.
Thank you. My name is Jason Call. I'm a lifelong progressive activist and former public high school math teacher of nearly 20 years. I'm running because, like many others, I see that our nation is at a turning point while facing cascading crises in our economy, in our climate, and in our democracy. Rated to D+16 by 538, this district is solidly Democratic and at very little risk of being won by a Republican. I believe we have a strong chance to send 2 Democrats to the general election. While the incumbent has faced off against many Republicans in the past, he has never confronted a progressive campaign with the enthusiasm and momentum we have. It's finally time for voters in the 2nd District to be presented with a real choice that champions the progressive policies that they strongly support. Money isn't speech and corporations are not people. I'm first and foremost fighting to rein in the troubling influence that corporations and wealthy special interests have in our politics. I'm the only Democrat in the race committed to fighting this by never accepting campaign contributions from corporate PACs. Citizens United must be overturned. We must institute ranked choice voting, and we must completely abolish the filibuster. In Congress, I will fight for the passage of a national improved Medicare for All bill to establish a single-payer healthcare system with comprehensive coverage, including abortion care for everyone, while saving us nearly $500 billion a year, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Local and state level Democrats already endorse single payer in their platforms, and it's far past time they have a representative in Congress that shares those principles. We must guarantee health care as a human right in this country. Not only can we afford it, we can't afford not to. I encourage you to read my op-ed on this issue that was published in Cascadia Daily News on June 29th. I'm also fighting for a livable planet for young people, our kids and our grandkids yet to be born, not just here in America, but around the world. Climate science tells us that we're rapidly running out of time to drastically cut carbon emissions if we want to avoid the worst case scenarios of global warming. We're already seeing the devastation the climate crisis has wrought. It's no secret that the outsized influence of the fossil fuel industry, which contributes to at least one candidate in this race, has a stranglehold on this country's attempts to enact even modest climate policies. We are capable of meeting the challenge of converting our energy systems to renewable and sustainable sources, but right now we lack the political will. The Green New Deal is a blueprint for the future. Again, we can afford it and we can't afford not to.
15.
Corporations and the super rich are well represented in Congress while the struggling working class and barely middle class have been left behind. It's time to change that. Read more about our genuinely grassroots campaign at callforcongress.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have candidate Kennedy.
You're muted, candidate Kennedy. You're muted.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Kerry Kennedy, and I'm running as a We the People, America First candidate and a registered Republican. I believe that we must bring civility and integrity back to a very broken Congress. I'm excited about the redistricting that now includes all of Whatcom and Skagit counties, Island, San Juan, and a smaller portion of Snohomish County. As the wife of a career U.S. Navy Seabee, I've traveled the world, lived outside the United States, and believe this is the greatest country on our planet. I've lived in communist countries. I've seen firsthand what people are dying to get to the United States to have what we have. I believe we, the people, must take back Congress from career politicians who've gotten rich, have and are not representing the people, their constituents, and selling out to foreign entities, which is not in America's best interest. Career politicians are not putting American citizens first. We must secure our borders and accept people into America who adhere to and follow our immigration laws, not coming and streaming over the borders and without any consequences. Our economy must be energy independent, using US resources readily available in America for Americans first. And when America is secure with our energy, then we can sell it, do whatever the companies require to be open for what they need to do. We must stop shipping American resources overseas while Americans are suffering. We must put our American children, our futures first. During the SCOTUS hearing of nominee Jackson, Senator Durham stated that Congress was to blame for the child pornography laws. I intend to introduce locating the most senior representative that would introduce the bill, because I don't feel that Kerry Kennedy can do that as a junior or a freshman congressional person, and try to change the laws to protect our children and to end
15 seconds.
and to end human trafficking. I believe that we must allow parents to have school choice, and they must be able to determine what their children learn in.
That's time.
Okay, thank you. And for our final first question, candidate Larson.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you all tonight. I'm Rick Larson. I'm the U.S. representative for the 2nd Congressional District, and I'm running for re-election. I'm running for the seat in Congress because I understand what has to be done to help our families, our small businesses, and our communities fully recover from the pandemic. I mean, look at the big picture. Democrats have turned an economy that had lost 20 million jobs to an economy that's just not on the mend, but is definitely on the move. And we are now stronger. We have stronger economic growth in China for the first time in nearly 5 decades. The unemployment rate in Washington state is around 3.9%. But we have not fully achieved recovery, economic recovery, and not from the pandemic either. In Congress, I supported landmark recovery programs, the CARES Act, and the American Rescue Plan that saved thousands of American jobs, and the passage of the Investment in Infrastructure and Jobs Act, which is creating thousands of American jobs, building and repairing the roads, bridges, and highways and transit of America. But our work isn't done until everyone has recovered. And that's why I'll continue to push. I will push to reduce prescription drug costs, letting Medicare negotiate lower drug prices like we let the VA, the Veterans Affairs Department, do, pushing drug companies and taxing them, giving them a tax penalty if they increase drug prices faster than inflation. And by capping the price of insulin at $35. That's why I'll continue to push for the largest investment in our nation's history in childcare. And of course, I will continue to push for lower gas prices. And we need to rein in the profiteering of oil companies, which is why we have to pass the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act. But even before the arrival of the pandemic, we had a slate of challenges ahead of us. And I'll continue to fight for increased access to healthcare, continue to fight to and reverse the effects of climate change, including advancing the largest effort to combat climate change in the history of the United States. I'll continue to fight to keep our kids safe from gun violence. We passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. It was a good step, but it wasn't enough, and we needed more to protect our kids from gun violence. And finally, I will continue to fight for the reproductive freedom of women everywhere. We need to codify Roe v. Wade by passing the Women's Health Protection Act. And that's why I asked for your vote. I'm Rick Larson, and I asked for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move right along to closing statements. We're going to go in the same order as they are on the ballot. So let's go to Candidate Hart. You have 1.5 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you. As your candidate for the 2nd Congressional District, it's very exciting to think about what can be accomplished in the coming change to our government. That is inevitable. The current government has failed, and the 2nd Congressional District will not tolerate it. I'm very excited to be the leader of the MAGA movement in Washington State. As the only MAGA Republican in a federal position, I am confident that I will join with the other MAGA candidates across the country to accomplish some of the most significant changes to our nation in years. Legislation to cut government and lower taxes. Legislation to end insider trading that has been making politicians rich. Legislation to eliminate government obstacles to the exploration of production and innovation of energy sources and to help restore America's energy independence. Legislation to hold politicians, health department officials, and medical companies accountable for withholding medical information during the COVID pandemic. Legislation to provide a stronger parental rights in schools. Legislation to protect first responders from attacks from far left Marxists who would destroy our country. Legislation to end the intrusion of biological males in all of girls' sports throughout our nation. Legislation to strengthen oversight of our nation's infrastructure system. Legislation to strengthen our nation's election system and eliminate mail-in voting altogether.
15 seconds.
In-person voting. Most importantly, I want to cast the deciding vote to make President Trump the next Speaker of the House of Representatives and watch Nancy Pelosi and the rest of those traitors fall over dead. Thank you.
Okay, next up for final remarks, Candidate Matthews.
We must come together to solve our challenges, but our many challenges are compounded when people don't know and don't care. Too many remaining silent, even not voting, unaware or indifferent to the perils they then enable. To those who must awaken or forever be slaves of the current tyranny, your indifference, your apathy, your silence has a cost. Let this not be your epitaph. I didn't know and I didn't care. You see, it doesn't start with gulags or gas chambers. It begins with one party controlling the media and the message, deciding what is truth, censoring speech, suppressing opposition, undermining the family, indoctrinating children, dividing citizens into us and them, always consolidating their power by fears and lies. And they seize the education system, and the citizens' means of defense, mandating compliance, calling on supporters to harass and hate, muzzling the church, marginalizing the voices of reason, defunding the police, encouraging lawlessness, rigging elections, and weaponizing government. One party silencing all dissent and labeling dissenters. It starts and it succeeds when good people turn a blind eye, let it happen, and do nothing. Knowing that they are not represented, people are distrustful, detached, and disillusioned. It is a time to restore integrity, honor, and trust, and our national unity. That will be my focus in Washington, D.C., to truly
15
represent you,
seconds.
the good people of our district. Remember, we must not return to power those who got us into this mess. I'm Dan Matthews at dan2congress.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Candidate Wheeler, your closing statement, please.
This election is about our future, not our past. Too many of our leaders will not unhinge themselves from outdated policies, which put our future and democracy for us and future generations at risk. While one's district representative may seem minuscule, rest assured that collectively we are not. This election is more important than ever. I believe in this country and the patriotic blood that runs through it. To look around and deny that we are in unprecedented times is a severe understatement. I ask you to look past the party's affiliation and look at what your representative will do for you. This is about a grounded political revolt against a system that has failed and defrauded its constituents consistently because we stick with what we think is safe or what we know. We have to ask yourself, how has playing it safe worked out for you so far? Our representatives sat idly by while our cities burned, taxes raised, safety considerations for vaccines went ignored, businesses closed, schools pushed critical race theory, and the autonomy over our body was completely lost. We need level-headed representatives in DC, not another proxy war, higher taxes, or undeliverable promises. This election is about putting your foot down and saying enough is enough. This country is under an assault, one of which none of us have seen the likes of before. Career politicians have infested our government, undermined democracy, and sold us out. This midterm is the Rubicon. We must forge through this as a united front or divide and fall. Our future truly is up to
15
you.
seconds.
I would like to thank you for your time and consideration. My name is Bill Wheeler, and I'm your District 2 candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Welch, please, your closing statement.
I'm the only candidate for Congress that has 10 years experience in movement and transportation and transition. That's what I do. That's what I'm in charge of. We are in the process of transitioning into the next stage of the American future. One of my favorite lifetime sayings was written by Cynthia Ocelli, and she said, "For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must be completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes." To someone that doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction. And that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. We have 31 Democrat representatives that are retiring this year from the House. Representative Rick Larson will probably be a senior member of an irrelevant minority. I'm running to move us into a place where we transition and start building infrastructure for the future. There's an opportunity for Washington to elect somebody that will protect small business, ensure safe and productive environments for students, to reform outdated legislation like the Clinton crime bill, and to secure our future by building infrastructure that will unleash a fifth industrial revolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Call, closing statement, please.
Thanks again. When I ran for the seat in 2020, I came within less than a percentage point of advancing to the general election in this top 2 primary district, earning almost 35,000 votes after having just raised barely over $50,000 with little name recognition and unable to knock doors under COVID restrictions. This time around, we've more than tripled our fundraising from over 6,500 contributions at an average of just $22 each. That money is being put to real work. Our grassroots volunteers recently crossed the 10,000 door milestone, more than all of the other candidates in this race combined. Door after door, people are telling us they are ready for real and substantial systemic change. I hope you can join the many others who have endorsed our people-powered campaign, including Democrats from Skagit County, from the 21st, 39th, 40th, and 44th legislative districts. I'm also proud to have received the sole endorsement from the Island County Democrats, the San Juan County Democrats, and the Young Democrats of the University of Washington, my alma mater. The voters of this progressive district deserve a real choice in representation. They deserve a debate within the Democratic Party as to how they want to be represented. This year, we're going to give it to them. We're going to give them that choice. And I ask for your vote on August 2nd. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Candidate Kennedy, your closing remarks, please.
Hi, I ran in 2020 as well. I am not a politician, but I'm a passionate patriot and American citizen. I will defend our US Constitution, and I will always vote Constitution first. I'd like to see bills introduced into Congress that do not have double standards and no more of the rules for thee. We need to have bills introduced into Congress. If you have not read the bill, you don't get to vote on the bill. Because I am a we the people, I believe that I will be the voice for the people and strive to bring integrity and honor back to Congress and our government so that our constituents, our American citizens, and the world around us will see America as the shining beacon at the hill that we all strive to be. I wish most of all that we look at each other, take into account what all the candidates have said. God bless our great America. Stay stronger, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Candidate Larson, if we could hear from you, your final statement, please.
You're muted.
Thank you. I think as you've all heard, I'm the only candidate in this race who is independent enough to reach across the aisle, who's worked with Democrats and Republicans to get things done. I was born and raised in this district, and I'm very proud to serve the people of Northwest Washington State. Representing your voice in Congress has been one of the great privileges in my life. And it is a privilege. It is something that you as voters own, to give or to take. And I hope I've earned the privilege to serve you for 2 more years. Our region is special. So are our neighbors, so are our communities, so are our families. And your strength and resilience motivate me every day to get things done. And there is plenty to get done. You deserve an economy that works for you. You deserve quality health care you can afford. You deserve limits on corporate power. You deserve a sustainable environment. You deserve schools where children can go without the fear of violence. And women, you deserve autonomy over your body. And we need to continue to protect a woman's right to choose, and the fight to claw back that constitutional right happened the day of the egregious and horrible Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. I was born and raised here. I was born and raised here in Northwest Washington State. I have deep roots here. I'm ready to serve you again in Congress, and I look forward to that. Please vote for me, Rick Larsen. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, on behalf of the League of Women Voters chapters throughout the 2nd Congressional District, I really want to thank our candidates for being here today and for your interest in running for public office. Voters can find more information about the candidates online at vote11.org and in your voter pamphlet. Remember, the ballots are going to be mailed July 13th. And your ballots must be postmarked or in a ballot drop box before 8 p.m. on August 2nd. Be sure to remember to sign that ballot envelope. And if you are mailing by postal service, we recommend that you mail early. Thanks, everybody. We hope our recordings will be available in the languages as planned. And we appreciate your patience tonight with our technical difficulties. Bye-bye. Thanks.